So I'm using the laptop to record this, so hopefully you can edit it and you won't chop me off from here down. So this is a story just about how the world sort of came to be the way it is, I guess. I don't really know, but here goes. The place where evil lurks is known by many names. The underworld, the netherworld, hell, Hades, the list goes on. It is a place conceived only in stories, myths, and legends, or so most mortal folk believe. A long time ago, in ancient times, creatures known only to have existed in fairy tales roamed the world in great numbers, and magic was used freely throughout the world by those, known as witches and warlocks, that had been blessed with its abilities. During this time, magic still manifested in simple form, being used to heal small wounds, light fires, and carry out other day-to-day tasks. One day, a curious warlock, well respected amongst his community, vowed to commit his life to the study of magic. He practiced many different forms of magic and cast every spell that he could find. He learned that the most powerful form of magic was elemental magic, magic of the earth, of wind, of fire, and of water. He mastered them all. Once needing an incantation to cast his magic, his study soon enabled him to cultivate and grow his power to the point where he could command his magic with just simple gestures and movements. Still, he wanted to learn more about his abilities, so next he studied the effects the items with magical properties could have upon them. He learnt about herbs, flowers, and other plants which could be used with magic, and he pioneered the art of potion brewing. His hunger for knowledge and power still yearned, so he experimented with precious stones and gems, and he learnt that some types could enhance his powers, but still he craved more. So next, the warlock delved into the realms of the unknown and began to test magic to all its limits. This path took him down a dark road. His practice called for blood and sacrifice as he killed magical beasts to use and drain their magic, just as he had done with the magical items. This caused many in his community to fear him. They shunned both him and his practice. They cast him out to fend for himself in the dangerous lands and told stories to their children and their children's children to warn of the danger his practices would bring. The warlock survived the dangerous lands and made them his home. As the years passed, he grew more and more powerful and more knowledgeable. He took in others who had been banished from their homes too and started his own community, teaching them his ways. News began to spread as his displays of power became unrivaled. Some feared the warlock's great powers, whilst others admired it and wanted it for themselves as well. It wasn't long before followers joined his community and their cause, and they became known as the Dark Ones and he, the Dark Warlock. They ventured into the dark branches of magic guided by their leader. They grew more and more powerful at great expense of the magical beings of the world who were frivolously hunted and killed for their power. But the greed of the Dark Ones was never satisfied. The people of the lands tried to stand up against the Dark Ones, but they struggled to fight against such great power, and every day lives were lost. Now all of this was happening in a time when powerful deities still watched over the land, seas, and skies. They did not take too kindly to the Dark Warlock's pursuits, but they did not wish to stand in the way of free will. The people of the lands begged and prayed for their help, but their prayers for help went unmet. They ran and hid in fear as the Dark Warlock led his army across the lands, wiping out entire towns which stood in his path. The people begged and pleaded for the gods to help, but still their cries went unmet. But there was one goddess who could take the cries no more. She joined forces with the people, and battle waged the lands for many years. The goddess blessed those she trusted with great powers, but in return the Dark Ones experimented and created species of their own and named them demons. They cast powerful curses upon those who stood against them, creating vampires, werewolves, and shapeshifters, and they watched as their creations destroyed the world. Hope was all but lost, so the goddess returned to plead once more with her brothers and sisters. Some were moved by her courage and her words, and together they cast a powerful spell, creating an infernal cage in which to imprison the supernatural evils of the world. The goddess led her trusted army into battle to end all battles and fought bravely beside them. Many lives were lost on both sides, but finally the goddess triumphed, running the supernatural evils into the depths of the underworld. Good had triumphed over evil. The goddess smiled, but she also feared for the future. Before she parted from the lands of this world, she left with them three important things: the key, the protectors, and a warning to heed. Whilst evil had been rid from the world, it would never stop trying to eradicate good. Evil would find its way back eventually, whether an old evil or the formation of a new evil. One day it would return. Over the years, the world lived in peace and harmony once again. The people swore not to use magic so openly for fear that history might repeat itself, and they destroyed all the writings they could find from the Dark Warlock's teachings. The gods and goddesses became less and less present. Many feared that it was due to the loss of magic in the world. Over the centuries, most mortals came to believe that magic was simply part of the stories your parents told you.
The place where evil lurks goes by many names. The underworld, hell, some other names. A long time ago, way back when, the world was full of magic and people that only now exist in fairy tales. There were wizards and warlocks, and this story follows one such warlock. He learned elemental magic, so he was doing stuff with all the elements, and he got really good at it. He started learning things where you needed to say the spell, but eventually he managed to get so good that he could just do gestures and think, and then the spells would work and the magic would work. He wasn't satisfied. He was never satisfied, so he started learning how to do things with potions and flowers, and he got amazing at that. It still wasn't good enough, so then he started doing trick magic with precious stones and crystals. He mastered that art. He was a genius. He still wasn't satisfied, so he took a turn to the dark side, and he started doing magic that involved sacrifices and blood and killing beasts and people. And the other people in the town around him, they saw that he was getting quite evil and dark and things were dying because of him. So he was sort of cast out of the town, and people said, "That's it. I don't want you around. You're killing everybody." So he went to somewhere where he was cast out to, and there were some other outcasts there. They sort of all became a gang. They became the Dark Ones, and he was the Dark Warlock. And together they took over. They were evil. They were just like rampaging, killing things, doing spells, doing all the bad stuff. So the deities, there was lots of deities that you would like watch them and keep an eye on the world, and they saw what he was doing, that he was evil, and they said, we need to do something. They didn't want to, because they didn't want to interfere. They wanted to just let the world go as it was supposed to. But there was one goddess who said, we can't have him here killing everybody, doing this to everyone, so I have to intervene. So she went down to Earth and she spoke to him. I don't remember what she said. She just watched him, maybe. Something happened, and she went back to the other deities and said, we've got to do something. He's killing everybody. They're doing wars. We can't have this. The Earth needs to live in peace. So she went back to Earth and banished him and the Dark Ones. Or they were making demons and all of the bad stuff. They were doing bad stuff. So she went down and banished them to the underworld. She left with them 3 things. She left a key. She left the keepers. And she left the promise that no matter how they're locked away in the underworld, evil will one day return to Earth. So evil was gone. They were in the underworld, in hell, with all the demons, and the world returned to peace, and everyone was happy, and they lived a lovely life. And then, but they were always sort of in the knowledge that evil would return in some way or another. So keep an eye out for the evil. Good luck.
So here's the story. It's a bit long, so be careful. Try and cut it down if you can. So, back in the day, the olden days, before there was history and science, there used to be all kinds of different magic. And there were witches and warlocks, and there were potions and devils and demons and stuff like that, and gods as well. There was a lot of gods. So this one particular guy, he started off as a warlock. He was quite a good warlock. He mastered how to cast spells without having to say any of the incantation. He could just cast the spell by thinking it, and it would happen. So he was quite an advanced warlock. But he mastered spell casting, and then he got bored of that, so he started making potions and practicing with different herbs and potions and things, and he mastered that as well, and then he got bored. So out of his ambition and greed for power, he turned to the dark arts, and he started practicing dark arts, and he became quite a dark, corrupted person. And this drew the attention of the academy where he studied, or something, where he became a warlock, and they didn't like it, obviously, so they kicked him out. And he wasn't too fussed. He just went and he started his own organisation, I think, called the Dark Ones. Very creepy name there. So he was obviously embracing the fact that he was an evil guy. The Dark Ones were a very powerful group of warlocks who they all practiced the dark arts, and they grew in power, and eventually they started doing group summoning and bringing demons and devils up from hell into the real world, so that they could just create terror and stuff like that. But obviously this also brought the attention of somebody else, where beforehand he was practicing by himself. He got kicked out of the academy. This time he brought the attention of the gods, because summoning demons is obviously very against the natural way of things. So the gods were very angry, and one of the gods, a goddess called, I can't remember her name, let's call her Goddess Lisa, she came down from the heavens, went and met the Dark Ones, and she said she's not happy about it. None of the gods are happy. They need to stop, otherwise they're going to be put on the naughty step. And the leader was just like, no, this is what I like to do. I'm not going to stop it. You'll have to make me. So the goddess Lisa, she went back up to heaven. She was pissed off though. She went up with a strop, and the other gods had to console her and calm her down, and eventually she told them what had happened, and so the other gods got together, and they all decided that it had to take a lot of them, and together they cast a spell that banished the Dark Ones, all of them, including the leader, down into hell. So the Dark Ones would be trapped there. But the gods, in their infinite wisdom and being too busy, they were unable to keep on top of keeping them in hell, keeping the Dark Ones in hell, because they were always trying to escape and stuff. So the gods had to create some sort of organisation to keep the Dark Ones in hell. And to do that, they went to humanity. They gave humanity three things to help them fight the Dark Ones and keep them in hell. And the first thing was a key, and this key was the key to unlock the passageway, which could help the Dark Ones get out of hell. Basically, it was a passageway that leads to them from Earth. The second thing was the organisation themselves. They were called the Keepers, and they were a human organisation. And the third thing was supernatural abilities that the gods gave to the Keepers. So they could cast magic and they could do special things like superheroes and stuff like that. So since then, the Dark Ones have been down in hell and the Keepers are kicking ass. Nicely done. Well done. Good luck.
So, this is a story about a warlock who was around before history and around before science and all this stuff. There was magic in the world, and there was witches and hags and wizards and warlocks and all the rest of the magical world. So there was this one guy, and he was practicing magic, and he got really good at it, like really good to the point where he didn't need to say the incantation. He could just think it, maybe blink it, and it would happen. So he kind of got bored of that, and he wanted to, get a bit more. So he started learning potions, and he was using herbs and other things to make concoctions, and that he also got bored of. So he started turning himself to other magic that he could find, and some of that was bad magic, and he really started getting into it, and it was the dark arts. And then his study of university, like Wizard for Us, whatever, heard about it and kicked him out of the organisation. But he had got so far into it that he was learning, and he wasn't getting bored of learning about dark arts. So he made his own group, and he called them the Dark Ones. So 1D, not D1 or whatever, I don't know. So he was practicing all this magic, and they were doing like group incantations and being really evil, and they were summoning up devils and demons from the underworld. And the gods, which were also part of this magical universe, found out about it, and the goddess Odysseia came down to talk to the warlock, and she turned around and said, "This is very bad, and you shouldn't be doing this, and you have to stop." And he was like, "Well, what are you going to do about it? I'll fight you for it." And basically told her to piss off. So she then went back to the other gods, really upset and really pissed. I would be too. And she turned around and she explained to the group of gods that what had happened after they calmed her down, how this warlock was, being a menace and doing all this bad stuff to the world. So the gods then all got together, a big group of them, and decided to go down there and have an epic magic battle. And there was a lot of gods, and they banished all of the Dark Ones, not just the leader, but all of them, to the depths of the underworld. And they were locked down there. But the gods got busy, they had other things to do, you know what it is, housework, whatnot. And the Dark Ones kept trying to escape. So the gods got together, formal meeting, and had a plan to create humanization and have them as the guardians of the Dark Ones. And they were given 3 things: a key that led to a passage and a doorway to the underworld, a group of people which were known as the heroic heroes, and then the third thing they were given were powers to be able to keep the Dark Ones, so kind of like superheroes. And there were struggles, and then but the bad ones stayed away, and the heroes were kicking ass. Well done and good luck.
Okay, so there was basically this warlock that was around before, like, I don't know, most of the magic stuff that we kind of think of, and like history and science and everything. And he basically was practicing magic, but he he could do it really well. So he could like do it without like he could think about it, and he could do it without saying anything. And he got really good at it, but he got bored. So he started with like potions. And he got really bored of that as well. And then he found the dark magic, like bad magic, like dark arts. And he got really interested in that. And the group that he was with, they kind of found out. And they didn't like it. So they were like, oh, go away, leave us. They banished him from the group. And then he formed his own group. And this was like a group that decided that they were just going to like do like group magic, summon demons, and basically they just brought all these really bad things. And this goddess, Odysseia, I think, and she basically came down, told him off, was like, you got to stop it, it's not on. He didn't take too lightly to this, basically told her to fuck off, and he didn't care, he'd fight her. So she went back, I think she told the rest of the gods about it. They decided to come down and just have this big ass battle and just banish all of these bad things away. Like literally all of them, just, get down there, sort of don't come back. They kept trying to escape, so the gods got together and I think created humans. And they gave 3 things, a key to a passage to like the underworld. They gave them a group of people, don't know what they're called, there were some hero things, hero group of, I don't know, a cult or something, and then they gave them powers, so they could basically keep them at bay, and as far as I know, the demons kind of kept at bay, but I guess, I don't know, that's it. That's all I can remember.
Okay, so from what I can remember, there was once this guy, I don't think I was told his name, and he was a warlock, very powerful with magic, so much so that he could do whatever he wanted, summon spells, without even needing to speak any words. He could just think about it. And for some reason, after a while, he got a bit bored of doing magic, and he started tinkering with potions and that. That lasted for a while, but again, he got a bit bored, and then he eventually found like dark magic, the dark arts, that sort of thing. And the group of other warlocks, other mages he was chilling with, they weren't too keen on it, and they told him to leave, or they banished him. So he formed his own group of evil dark mages. I guess it was a cult, and this goddess Odysseia, Acidia, something like that. They came down, told him off, reprimanded him, and he just told her to fuck off. And she went back and told the rest of the gods. Started this big war between the gods and these evil warlocky people. I don't actually remember. Although they banished them to, I'm guessing, the underworld, or down under somewhere. And for some reason, the gods then created humans and gave them 3 things. I'm pretty sure I was only told 2 of them. The first one was a key to like a passage to the underworld, and then the second thing, she gave a group of like hero wizards. I don't know if they were wizards, hero people, humans, mystical, magical abilities. So they can't have already been wizards. A group of just people, powers to be able to keep the evil warlocks at bay. I'm pretty sure that was everything. I can't remember anything else. Yeah. Good luck.
Okay, thanks, Max. So from what I was told, there was basically this wizard guy who was incredibly powerful, and he could do really big spells, I guess, without saying any words. He just thought about it, and it happened. But I think he got kind of bored with that. So he started doing something else and started like tinkering with potions. And of course, because he's a guy, he got bored of that as well, and he started doing some dark magic. Because he's a weirdo, and basically the group that he was part of didn't like that, and they said you can't do it. So he went and made his own group of dark wizards and mages, and yeah, it was basically a cult, I think was the word Max used. And basically some goddess, I think her name was like Odysseia something, came down and reprimanded him. The wizard guy basically told her to fuck off. And she went back up to the gods, who were all like, what a dick. So they started a big old war between the gods and the dark wizards, who eventually got banished to what I'm guessing is the underworld. And they stayed there, I guess. And then for whatever reason, the gods thought it was a good idea to make humans, and they gave them 3 things. But I can only remember one, which was a key, and I think that's it. Sorry, bye!
Thanks, Harley. That was super informative. So, I think it starts off with a wizard, and he's like super powerful, and he's so powerful that he can do magic without even having to say any spells. He just thinks it in his head, and the spell's done. So gets a bit bored of that, because I guess when you've got all the power in the world, who cares, right? So he starts like dabbling in potions, dibble dabble, blah blah blah. Gets bored of that as well. So then he starts dabbling in the dark arts and dark magic, which, to be fair, is probably a bit more fun. But the group that he's with, of all the wizards and the mages, etc, etc, they're like, no, you can't do this, this is not cool. Bit of a dick. So he leaves and he starts his own group, and as one does, starts a cult. So then they're doing all this dark magic, culty, blah blah blah, and this goddess, who I believe's name is Odysseia, she's like looking over what's happening. No, this is not okay, I'm not okay with it. So she goes back up, tells all the other gods what's happening. She's not good with it. So they come down, have a fight with these dark wizards. The dark wizards lose and get banished to probably hell, the underworld, something. So yeah, everything seems fine. But then the gods, for some reason, decide to make humans, because they've never done anything wrong, and gives them 3 things, one of which is a key, and the other 2 will remain a mystery. Ooh.